Occupied France, 1944. A Gestapo interrogator stands over a captured British agent in the basement of 84 Avenue Foch, Paris. He has pliers. He has electrodes. He has a bathtub for simulated drowning. He has days, perhaps weeks, to extract every name, every safe house, every radio frequency, every drop point locked inside his prisoner's mind. Experienced interrogators could break many, but not all. SOE had no illusions about the limits of human endurance. It set out to give agents one last irrevocable choice. But there is something this interrogator does not know. Sewn into the corner of that agent's shirt collar, invisible to even the most thorough strip search, sits a small rubber-coated capsule the size of a garden pea. Inside that capsule, a thin glass ampule containing concentrated potassium cyanide. One deliberate bite, a dose designed to kill within minutes, and every secret, every network, every name dies with the agent who carried them. The Germans knew cyanide suicide was possible. Their own leaders would later use it. The Americans developed comparable devices, but only British intelligence first conceived and systematically issued the technology of controlled death to field agents. This is the story of the L-pill, the secret weapon that denied German interrogators a simple, total victory, and gave captured agents something the Gestapo could never take away: the power of final choice. To understand why Britain developed a suicide pill, you must first understand what captured agents faced. The Sicherheitsdienst, the SD, operated interrogation centres across occupied Europe. The most notorious sat at 84 Avenue Foch in Paris, a requisitioned apartment building where SS Sturmbannführer Josef Kiefer ran a sophisticated operation designed to break even the most hardened operatives. Kiefer was no sadist. He was something far more dangerous, a professional. German interrogation was not simply about pain. Kiefer preferred psychological manipulation to immediate violence. Understanding that information extracted through rapport often proved more reliable than confessions beaten from broken bodies, he confronted prisoners with evidence of betrayals they did not know had occurred, showing them photographs of colleagues they believed were safe, reading back their own coded messages intercepted months earlier, presenting captured documents bearing their own handwriting. He would offer cigarettes, coffee, promises of better treatment. He would lie about what he already knew. He would tell the truth about what he already knew. The uncertainty itself became a weapon. When psychology failed, the Gestapo applied physical methods without hesitation. Beatings, waterboarding in the bathtub 3 floors below the elegant offices, electric shocks to sensitive areas, sleep deprivation lasting weeks until prisoners hallucinated, suspension by the wrists until shoulders dislocated, the baignoire, where prisoners were held underwater until they believed they were drowning, then revived to experience the terror again, and again, and again. The mathematics were brutal and unforgiving. A captured agent who broke under torture could compromise an entire resistance network within hours. One name led to 10 arrests. 10 arrests led to 100. 100 arrests meant the effective destruction of months or years of careful network building. The Prosper network in France collapsed in June 1943 precisely this way, with over 400 arrests cascading from a handful of captured operatives who revealed too much under pressure. Each agent carried knowledge worth dozens of lives, perhaps hundreds, and the Germans had unlimited time to extract it. British intelligence faced an impossible problem with no conventional solution. They could train agents to resist interrogation for 48 hours, perhaps 72 hours, giving networks time to scatter and safe houses to be abandoned. But no human being could hold out indefinitely against determined professional interrogators with no legal constraints. Eventually everyone talked. The only question was how much damage they would cause before they did, and whether that damage would destroy everything SOE had built. The solution came from an unlikely source, a country estate in Hertfordshire called the Frythe, designated Station 9 by the Special Operations Executive, commandeered by British military intelligence in August 1939 as war became inevitable. The Frythe was transferred to SOE when the organisation officially formed on July 19, 1940. Winston Churchill's instructions to SOE were simple: set Europe ablaze. The Frythe became Britain's secret laboratory for making that happen through ungentlemanly warfare. Lieutenant Colonel John Dolphin commanded the facility with military precision. Professor Dudley Morris Newitt led scientific research, bringing academic rigour to problems that universities would never acknowledge. Every device developed there received the Well prefix after the nearby town of Welwyn Garden City. the same workshops that produced explosive coal designed to detonate in locomotive fireboxes, incendiary briefcases that burst into flames when opened incorrectly, and the legendary Welrod silent pistol, now turned their attention to the most intimate weapon imaginable, a pill that would let agents choose death over betrayal, on their own terms, in their own time. The technical challenge was considerable and without precedent. The capsule needed to kill quickly and reliably, within minutes rather than hours. It needed to be small enough to conceal indefinitely on one's person without detection. It needed to be safe enough that agents would not die accidentally if they fell, were beaten, or simply forgot the capsule was there. And it needed to give the agent, not their captors, complete control over when death occurred. No one else could make that choice. Only the person who carried the pill. Station 9's scientists settled on potassium cyanide in concentrated liquid solution, contained within a thin-walled glass ampule approximately the size of a garden pea. The glass was deliberately fragile, designed to shatter easily under pressure from human teeth. This was then coated in brown rubber, sometimes grey rubber for agents operating in Crete, where local operatives nicknamed them cough drops with grim humour. The rubber coating served a crucial protective function that made the device viable for field use. The design intent was that if an agent accidentally swallowed the capsule whole without biting, the intact rubber would allow it to pass through the digestive system without releasing the poison. Death required the conscious, deliberate, irreversible act of crushing the glass between one's teeth. The design aimed to ensure there could be no accidents, only choices. The physiological mechanism was elegant in its brutality. Cyanide binds to cytochrome oxidase in the mitochondria, preventing cells from utilizing oxygen. The body suffocates at the cellular level. According to SOE agent Sandy Rendell, who operated in Crete from 1943 to 1945, the pill would kill in a matter of minutes if sucked, but cause death very painfully 3 to 4 hours later if swallowed whole. Production occurred at Station 12, Aston House near Stevenage, commanded by Colonel Leslie J. Cardew Wood, widely considered an inspiration for Ian Fleming's Q character. Station 12's manufacturing capacity was substantial. The facility produced over 12 million time-delay detonators and 38,500 limpet mines during the war. While specific L-pill production figures remain classified or destroyed, the device's simple construction suggests significant quantities were manufactured. Concealment methods proved as ingenious as the pill itself. Female agents like Christine Granville carried capsules sewn into skirt hems. Male agents had pills stitched into shirt collar corners where they could bite through the fabric to reach them. Others disguised capsules as ordinary coat buttons. Some lipstick holders contained hidden compartments. Hollywood would later popularize the image of cyanide pills implanted in hollow teeth. This is pure fiction. Vince Houghton, curator at the International Spy Museum, confirms there is no evidence that anyone had any kind of hollow tooth made for any cyanide capsule. It would have to be a massive tooth. The pea-sized L-pill simply could not fit in a realistic false tooth. Hollow teeth were used for concealing microdots and microfilm, never poison. The L-pill represented something unprecedented in the history of warfare. Not merely a weapon, but a psychological contract between the British government and its secret agents. Capture need never mean betrayal. No matter how sophisticated German interrogation techniques became, agents knew they held final authority over their own silence. Now, before we see how this played out in the field, if you are enjoying this deep dive into British covert engineering, hit subscribe. It takes a second, costs nothing, and helps the channel grow. Alright, let us get into the documented cases. The clearest verified use of an L-pill comes not from an SOE agent, but from Jacques Bingen, a high-ranking officer of the BCRA, the Bureau Central de Renseignement et d'Action, the Free French intelligence service working alongside British operations throughout occupied Europe. Bingen operated as one of General de Gaulle's most senior representatives inside occupied France, personally coordinating resistance networks across multiple regions and carrying knowledge that could unravel the entire structure of French resistance operations. On May 12, 1944, Belgian double agent Alfred Dormel betrayed Bingen's location to the Gestapo. German officers arrested him at Clermont-Ferrand train station in broad daylight. Bingen knew the identities of major resistance leaders across France. He knew operational details that could unravel months of Allied planning just weeks before the Normandy invasion scheduled for June. He knew radio frequencies, drop zones, weapons caches, escape lines, and the names of hundreds of people who trusted him with their lives. He also knew, with the professional certainty of an experienced intelligence officer, exactly what awaited him in the interrogation cellars of Avenue Foch. Rather than risk breaking under torture and condemning everyone he knew to arrest and execution, Bingen swallowed his cyanide capsule. According to French resistance archives, his body was never recovered by his family. The Germans disposed of it without ceremony. He received the Ordre de la Libération posthumously, one of only 1,038 people ever awarded that honour. The secrets he carried, every name and network and operational detail, died with him in those final minutes at the train station. Henri Labie presents another documented case. Dropped into France in May 1942 for Operation Basse, Labie was stopped on a train where Germans discovered his radio equipment. He shot 2 German officers while attempting to escape, then took his cyanide pill rather than face capture. Lieutenant Colonel Pierre Marchal similarly used his capsule after being betrayed in late 1943, yet the most psychologically revealing case involves an agent who did not use his L-pill. Pierre Brossolette, technically BCRA rather than SOE but working intimately with British intelligence, was captured on February 3, 1944. The Gestapo held him at 84 Avenue Foch for weeks, subjecting him to severe beatings and waterboarding. On March 22, 1944, in a case well documented by historians including Encyclopaedia Britannica, Brossolette threw himself from a 5th-floor window to his death. He chose physical suicide over chemical. This suggests either that his L-pill was confiscated during capture, or that profound psychological barriers prevented him from using it, even when he could accept death by other means. The distinction hints at complexities in the human response to controlled suicide that Zoe training never fully addressed. Among British agents, Violette Szabo was issued an L-pill but captured before she could use it. After exhausting her ammunition during the firefight at Salon-la-Tour on June 10, 1944, she was seized by SS troops before she could reach the pill sewn into her clothing. She was later executed at Ravensbrück concentration camp around February 1945, receiving a posthumous George Cross. Noor Inayat Khan's case presents conflicting accounts. Standard SOE issuance protocols indicate she was provided with an L-pill alongside her other equipment. However, as a Sufi pacifist, she may have refused it on religious grounds. One account claims she rejected both a weapon and the suicide pill because both conflicted with her moral code. What is certain is that she was captured in October 1943, held in chains at Avenue Foch after multiple escape attempts, and executed at Dachau on September 13, 1944. A striking gap exists in the historical record. No captured German documents specifically discussing British suicide pills have been identified in accessible archives. This absence does not mean Germans were unaware. They clearly were, given their extensive penetration of SOE networks and interrogation of captured agents. Top Nazi leaders themselves would use cyanide capsules at the war's end, but formal SD or Gestapo protocols specifically countering SOEL pills remain undocumented. Whether this reflects genuine policy absence or simply archival gaps remains an open question. What can be inferred from circumstantial evidence is suggestive. The fact that Brossolette resorted to jumping from a window rather than using his capsule strongly suggests it had been discovered and confiscated during his initial search. The Germans themselves certainly understood cyanide capsules. Heinrich Himmler, Hermann Göring, Eva Braun, and Joseph Goebbels all died using them. When Himmler crushed his concealed capsule during a British medical examination on May 23, 1945, death took 10 to 15 minutes despite desperate countermeasures including immersing his head in water. Kiefer's interrogation methodology at Avenue Foch may itself reflect awareness of suicide risks. His preferred tactic was to lull prisoners into a feeling of safety and treat them as gentlemen and even friends, confronting them with pre-captured intelligence rather than immediate physical torture. This slower psychological approach could indicate recognition that rushed brutality risked triggering suicide attempts. The Americans developed comparable suicide pills through the Office of Strategic Services during the war. Post-war, CIA scientists at Fort Detrick advanced the technology considerably. The 1975 Church Committee investigation revealed that CIA stored 18 cyanide L pills plus 11.4 grams of shellfish toxin called saxitoxin, a poison that kills in seconds at microscopic doses. But American adoption of British methodology represented the sincerest form of flattery. The L-pill originated at the Frythe. The concealment techniques came from Station 12. The psychological framework that agents deserved control over their own silence was a British innovation exported to every Allied intelligence service. Contemporary academic analysis confirms that utilization rates for L-pills remained surprisingly low. Psychological barriers often prevailed, with agents trained in evasion and resistance preferring to withstand torture in hopes of rescue, or to protect networks through silence. The human survival instinct frequently overrode training, yet the L-pill's power may have exceeded its practical utility in ways that pure casualty statistics cannot capture. SOE cryptographer Leo Marx, whose memoir Between Silk and Cyanide remains the most intimate account of the organization's inner workings, described the pill as an optional extra. Agents could decline it without consequence or judgment. The title of his book itself captures the agent's dilemma, the choice between secure codes printed on silk and the cyanide that offered a final escape. Those who accepted the pill carried a psychological talisman that no training exercise could replicate, the knowledge that capture need never become complete surrender, that torture need never become betrayal. This represented a fundamental transfer of power from captors to captive, a reversal of the interrogation dynamic that German intelligence never anticipated and never solved. The Gestapo could control the physical environment completely. They could apply pain without limit or legal constraint. They could manipulate psychology with captured intelligence and false promises. They could threaten family members. They could offer life in exchange for names, but they could never control the agent's final choice. That authority remained with the person in the chair, not the person holding the electrodes or the pliers or the switch on the electrical apparatus. Today, an original L-pill sits in the Imperial War Museum's collection in London. Catalogued as Object 30823660, the museum describes it as a suicide ampule containing liquid compound cyanide. A glass ampule concealed within a modified German 7.92mm cartridge case, marked Z 1939-11. Visitors walk past it every day without understanding what this tiny object truly represents, without comprehending the weight of history contained in something smaller than a fingertip. Not merely a suicide device, though that description is technically accurate. Not merely a chemical weapon, though the cyanide within could kill a person in minutes, but the physical embodiment of a promise made by British intelligence to every man and woman it sent into the darkness of occupied Europe. You will never be powerless. You will never be without choice. You will never face the horror of watching yourself betray everyone who trusted you. And the secrets you carry will die when you decide they die, not when the enemy finally extracts them through methods you cannot withstand. The Gestapo interrogator standing over his captured agent believed he held all the power. He had the pliers, he had the electrodes, he had the bathtub, he had weeks or months to work. He had every advantage that training, experience, and complete immunity from legal consequences could provide. He had broken hundreds before. He would break this one too. He did not have control. That belonged to the pea-sized capsule sewn into a shirt collar, hidden in a coat button, concealed in the hem of a skirt. A rubber-coated glass ampule containing a dose designed to kill within minutes. The secret British weapon that denied German interrogators, for all their brutality and sophistication and experience, the one thing they relied upon most, the certainty that given enough time, every prisoner would eventually break. British engineering solved what seemed unsolvable, not with firepower or armour or overwhelming force, but with chemistry, concealment, and the simple recognition that the ultimate weapon in covert warfare is the power to choose your own ending on your own terms. Station 9 and Station 12 created something that transcended conventional weaponry. They gave their agents sovereignty over their own deaths. No systematic, documented Gestapo countermeasure to the L-pill has yet emerged in the archives. That absence of paperwork is not proof the threat did not shape interrogation practice, but it suggests that against the L-pill, even the most feared interrogators in occupied Europe struggled to find a reliable answer. The tiny rubber-coated capsule denied them something they had always counted on. The certainty that time was on their side. That is the legacy of the L-pill. British innovation at its most intimate and its most lethal. A weapon measured in milligrams that gave agents something no amount of torture could take away. The final word.